Hey all, so Rich2150x and I we were talking on Skype, and I just want to talk about OBEs and entities and different things. So, yeah, Rich, what do you think about entities affecting us and OBEs and messing with us, and how can we protect ourselves when we're out of body?
Okay. First question. What do I think about entities while out of body? Is that be the first one?
Yeah, entities messing with us.
Entities messing with us. When you go out of body, different people are going to go to different levels and planes. And some people will encounter entities. And really, an entity is just a generalized term for any kind of being. Some of the entities are loving, good people, guides and friends, and some entities are mischievous, and they're relatively weak, limited in what their plans are, but they just want to be mischievous and tease you and scare you and stuff. But they're no great issue or threat. You see, unless you are absolutely unaware of what they can and can't do, and so then you might be afraid, unduly afraid and scared about what they are and how they are, just being afraid of the unknown. And they're just harmless, but they can still scare you. So those kind of little rascal kind of entities you can encounter, and they can be very scary, but yet they're not an issue at all. But there's so many different kinds of entities that just one question, the first part, could be a really long conversation. I'm not saying it's a bad idea asking about it. I'm just saying this could go really big.
Yeah.
So how do you tighten it up and make it something interesting for people?
Well, a lot of people are watching my channel to hear about my OBE because they get out of body so often. And for me, I'm surprised that a lot of people, when they get out of body or they start to get out of body, their first experiences are scary. They get scared by an entity or pushed back, and they're limited on getting out. And for me, it was vice versa. It was actually not vice versa, but quite opposite. Because I get out and it was pretty optimistic place. This fantasy worlds, and I was just able to be able to explore and experience a lot. And it took me quite a few years until I started dreaming something worse. I probably was 3 to 4 years old when I was actually. I remember maybe probably now that I think about it, I can term it as a newbie. Back then it was just some experience. I don't know how to describe it. I was always an explorer, and after 5 or 6 years old, I started dreaming of being in a planet and planet being destroyed by spaceships, and the planet is erupting and people are dying. I just tried to save my family, and I'm still there as a kid. I'm pretty clear on what's happening, and I see a planet being destroyed by this it's pretty harsh and dark. And the worst thing about it, as a kid for me, was that I've dreamt about it, or I've gone out of body and came back to that place over and over and over and over and over again, at least 50 times, at least. That's the minimum number, but I've been there tons of times, and I had it played out differently. I would every time try to save someone else or do something differently, do more, but it just remind me of my past life and me just trying to save myself and stuff. But as I explore my OBEs and different things, I'm surprised that I started out with something positive, and then it went darker, and then it went into missions and exploring the aliens and fighting for the good side and just trying to do more. And I've never met entities that would try to scare me or push me back. I've had the ones who would try to brainwash me, attack me, or something big, or I just felt entities with a really, really dark presence. You just see them, but you feel it, and it's feels really, really negative, and you have this sort of intense, scared feeling. But you wake up and you're fine, but that was just an intense interaction. So I've never experienced something too hard. Well, a lot of people out there they're getting scared, or pushed back, and this is a different thing than difficult of getting out. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, my take on that's very interesting yourself. It's absolutely fascinating. And in the kind of realms and experiences you're having, I don't normally consider those, and I don't think you would do either. We don't think of those as entities so much as beings or people or different extraterrestrials that you're fighting and encountering in kind of a regular reality world scenario. But in contrast, to answer this question, do you encounter entities? It's mainly like lower astral entities or lower vibrational kinds of entities that are like the demons and the ugly monster-looking things, or and those, whether they have a form or they look like a person, but they look really dark and they're that evil stuff. Yeah. So they'd be considered also evil entities as well. But all those are kind of like, from my understanding and experience, lower astral or earth plane, lower vibration phenomena. And people do encounter those sometimes when they're first starting to learn how to get out of body. And it's usually not a thing, but for some people it's a big thing. They have some kind of relationship with these entities, or having these kinds of experiences with these dark, evil beings, so they will encounter that more than other people. Yeah. Other people get out of body. Because when you get out of body, if you do your vibrational work and your love vibration, you focus on love and kindness, and you ask for the right kind of assistance from the right kinds of beings, you're more likely to, when you do get out, you're going to be in a higher vibrational state, thus in a higher vibrational plane, and you're going to bypass where these entities live. So I've encountered, two or three, or just a few, when I first started learning how to get out of body. They're just ugly and right in your face, and they look like a demon. They have the yellow eyes and sharp teeth and the leathery skin and kind of, all the pointy ears, all that evil-looking, classic demon-looking stuff. But they couldn't hurt me. If I believed they could hurt me, it would scare me, and I believe they could hurt me. But it was just, I found it surprising. And I remembered what I'd been taught: confront those things, show no fear, kind of thing. Although you can feel afraid, just look them in the eye and just stare them down. And it went away. But yeah, it's a thing. It can happen to people. And there's different kinds that you can encounter. And do you call them an entity? Do you call them a being, or ET, or alien, extraterrestrial, higher dimensional plane, human, or lots of labels. But yeah, it can happen. Have you ever encountered those lower astral sort of things, or seen them while you're walking around the real world because you got this psychic vision? Have you ever seen this kind of entities?
Really enough, when getting out, I've never interacted with any of them. I never had the entity pop up and scare me or look really ugly. I've never ever experienced that. Here on Earth, though, walking every day around people, I see pretty ugly stuff. It makes you think, but I guess it really depends from the people, what kind of people they are and how much they are affected by the world and their state, and also surroundings. Because some people are just doing great and they don't have it much around them, but if they're really doing bad, it's so clear. They have more entities around them, and it's pretty easy to watch.
Yeah. Well, give me an example of what one would look like.
The ones that I see quite often, it's more snake, like a mix between a snake and I wouldn't say a dragon, but it's maybe like a snake and a dragon mix. Put a dragon's head and then the snake's body and stuff, and it's just floating around people a lot, but it's really darkish, that blackish and scale and stuff, weird looking things.
Yeah, so they follow the person around, and can you feel their energy? Is it evil or malevolent or something?
Well, it's not evil as much as more of a bully. It has the bully that very pessimistic, negative. When I walk around, I have this thing where I can feel energies. So if I'm walking and another person walks behind me, it's like I have my energy around me. So whenever they step in, I can just tell who it is. So because like I countless of times if I know the person, and they might be sneaking up on me. They enter into my energy field and like, okay, hi, you know, like I can just say the name like hi you, and like I like say like hi Carlos or hi Megan or whatever, and they're like, how the you know, like you know, like I'm just like I just like feel their energy because like okay, I know the person, that's their energy, so it's like familiar to me, and I enter. But when I walk around strangers and there's these beings around them, and our energies like collide, sort of, like, or just like you know, like goes like really harshly. So I can like have a feel of their thoughts or beliefs, or you know the you know like that negative feeling. So it's like I have like my own energy field, and they have their own thing with the entities and stuff. It's like sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it's like really harsh, which is like another reason why I don't really like going out that much in some places or sometimes. But you know.
Yeah.